I think there's nothing that feels more in an idealistic way wrong than broken relationships. There's nothing that brings sort of the burden and pain that the world we're living in is not the way it was intended to be, and that we're fallen, broken people more than broken relationships, whether it's strained relationships with family members or, to its take it to its extreme, divorce. But it is the reality of the world that we live in, and it is a struggle that a lot of people have. One of the things that I think represents who Jesus is a real tenderness toward brokenness. So if you were just going to read the Gospels through, what you're going to find is that Jesus often operates to me on two extremes. The first is an extreme compassion and tenderness for desperate situations and broken people. The other is a real anger, a righteous anger and passion against hypocrisy and people who put burdens around coming to know Jesus. As Christians, we need to be very aware that when we've entered into the kingdom of God, we are often more likely to be like the Pharisees than we are to be like the desperate. And it is wise to remember and to remind ourselves that Jesus came to save us from ourselves and that we experience much brokenness in our own life, whether or not it plays out publicly or plays out a little bit more privately. So when I think about people who are going through a divorce or are recovering from a divorce, those are the things that come to mind for me first, was no matter how this situation got here, this is a person who has experienced a deep rupture in a relationship. The burden of that is difficult. Living with that is hard. It doesn't matter really how it came about. I have enough strained relationships in my own life to know that those are things that are very difficult. No matter how that person plays that out, they may rationalize what's happened, they may really live with a lot of hurt and regret, they may decide to live in like an angry place because it feels stronger. However that's working out for them, I think that as Christians, one of the things that we would do well to remember is that Jesus is our model for life. And Jesus's model is to walk with people, to be with people, and to love them really well when they're in difficult situations. It's not to like explain it all. He's not really even like a big explainer. He like tells a lot of stories, and a lot of times the crowds only heard the story and they didn't even hear the explanation. So he's not a big explainer. One of the hardest things to do as people is to walk with people in their hurt and not try to fix it. We feel better about ourselves when we can provide a solution. We usually feel better about God when we can provide a solution. It helps us feel stronger in our faith. That is all false. What God's calling us to is a very rigorous life where we're interacting with Him, being His ambassador of reconciliation, walking with someone when we don't know what to say, we don't know what to do, we're not sure how to act. That's a great place to be because you're like, wow, Jesus, I need you to be with me. Give me words for this person. If you put yourself into that place, more often than not, you'll find that people start actually asking you what you think. They want to know how you perceive their life. And at that moment, we do have an opportunity to speak if there needs to be a place of truth or helping people toward forgiveness. But most of us need practice at just presence. How do I just say, I'm with you in it? Grace is a cheap word without action. And the only way to really express grace is over time. And the real pinnacle way to express grace is when someone's been through something difficult that in their mind is a reason for you to reject them and you don't. So that can only be an experience. You can't tell a person that that'll be true. You can't say it in a sweet way. The only way to make grace come to life is to actually have that whole timeline happen. I'm walking with you now. I see that this difficult thing has happened. I still love you still. And I'm walking with you in the future. Then there's opportunities, I think, for growth, for healing, for truth. But most of us are still just need to stay in that place of presence.